Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know, we love to dig into the wild world of hip-hop, and today we're talking feuds, scandals, all that juicy stuff. But we're also going to hit you with some deeper questions about, like, public image and how we see celebrities.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, right? Like you see these headlines and you think it's just gossip, but when you really look closer, it says a lot about us, how we see these public figures, what we choose to believe about them.
For real. So get this, we're about to break down a hip-hop rivalry that's been going on for, like, ever, and it just took the most unexpected turn. Plus, we'll get into how a certain pop icon handled some seriously awkward questions from the paparazzi. Two big stories today from the world of Hip Hop DX, by the way.
Gotta love Hip Hop DX, always on top of it.
Always. Okay, so first up, Eminem's gonna be a grandpa.
Wait, really?
Yeah, his daughter, Haley Jade, announced she's pregnant, and the way it came out is kind of perfect. So Eminem drops this new music video, right? It's Temporary, I think it's called. Anyway, Haley's in it, all grown up, looking great. And get this, she gives him a custom Detroit Lions jersey, but instead of Eminem's name and number, it says Grandpa, #1.
That's cute.
Right. Apparently, his reaction in the video is totally genuine. Like, he had no idea.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah, sweet moment for sure. But here's where things get interesting. Benzino enters the chat.
Benzino, oh boy, here we go.
Right. This is where it gets juicy. Like, for anyone who might not remember just how deep this beef goes, think back to 2003, The Sauce, that whole era.
It's been 2 decades of diss tracks, personal attacks, pure hip-hop rivalry.
Legendary almost. And very, very public. Remember those lyrics from Doomsday P2? Brutal.
Yeah.
Eminem went after everything, Benzino's money problems, his height. Nothing was off limits, which is what makes this next part so wild. So Eminem's going to be a grandpa, big news, everyone's talking about it, and out of nowhere, Benzino goes on Instagram Live, and he congratulates him publicly.
No way. Seriously.
Yeah, and he's not even being shady about it. He says, "I'm not doing this for no joke. I truly want to congratulate him." He even offered to send a baby shower gift.
Wow. Okay. That is unexpected. After a feud as nasty as theirs, you got to wonder what's really going on there. Is it just me, or is that kind of suspicious? I mean, good for him if he's being genuine, but...
Right. It's hard to tell. Is this like a true change of heart? Did seeing Eminem about to be a grandpa soften him up? Or is this Benzino doing some serious image rehab after that, shall we say, emotional Drink Champs interview?
Yeah, that was something else.
It makes you think, right, how much of what we see from these public figures, especially in the world of hip-hop, is real, and how much is, like, carefully calculated for the gram?
The plot thickens. Seriously, though, it's a good reminder that these public figures are always thinking about their image, how they're perceived, and sometimes that can lead to some very calculated moves.
No doubt. And speaking of complicated public perceptions, let's talk about Diddy. This one takes a much more serious turn.
Oh, what's up with Diddy?
So he's facing some pretty serious accusations right now, and I do mean serious. Allegations that he coerced women into sex work. Now, to be clear, he denies all of it. Absolutely denies it. Yeah.
That's heavy.
It is. And the details that are coming out are, well, they're disturbing, to say the least. But what's interesting to me, and this is where it ties into everything else, is how these accusations, even though he denies them, have pulled other people into the mix. People who might not even be involved.
You're talking about Rihanna, right? With all the paparazzi stuff.
Bingo. She's gotten swept up in this whole thing just because, well, she's Rihanna.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like everyone wants a piece of her, especially when there's a big story like this.
Exactly. So she's leaving a party the other night, and the paparazzi just swarm her, right? And they straight up ask her if she's ever been to one of Diddy's parties and if she was involved in any of the activities that are being alleged.
Oh, wow. That's rough.
Right. And I just want to emphasize, for the record, there is zero evidence linking Rihanna to any of this. None whatsoever.
Good. It's important to make that clear. Just because she's connected to someone who's facing accusations doesn't mean she's guilty by association.
Exactly. And yet here we are.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that these rumors spread like wildfire, and sometimes, even when they're totally baseless, they can still tarnish someone's reputation, especially when it's tied to a bigger scandal.
It's wild, right? Like, just because someone's famous, suddenly their whole life is up for grabs, and people are making judgments left and right based on, what, like a 5-second clip they saw on TMZ?
It's crazy. We see a headline and we think we know the whole story, but the truth is usually a lot more complicated. Like, remember that old live stream of Kevin Hart hosting a party for Diddy? Back in like 2010?
Yeah, what about it?
Well, it resurfaced recently, and now the paparazzi are all over him with questions about it too. trying to connect the dots, make it seem like he's somehow involved in all this.
Oh, man, that's right. And Kevin Hart, he's not exactly known for being tight-lipped. How'd he handle it?
Honestly, he's playing it up for the cameras, being super vague, cracking jokes like, you asking the wrong person the wrong question, man.
Classic Kevin Hart. So basically, he's just adding fuel to the fire.
Pretty much. The less he says, the more suspicious it seems, even if he's totally innocent.
It's that whole guilty by association thing, isn't it?
Totally. It makes you wonder, though, what are we really after when we consume this kind of celebrity news? Like, are we actually looking for the truth, or just something to validate what we already think?
Yeah, it's like we have this idea in our heads about who these celebrities are, what they're really like. And when a story like this comes out, it's almost like we want to force it to fit our narrative.
Exactly. If we already think a celebrity is shady, any accusation, even without proof, just confirms it for us. And if we're a fan, it's easy to just brush off any negative stuff, even if there's evidence.
It's like we're choosing to see what we want to see. And social media doesn't help, does it?
Not at all. One tweet, one meme can go viral and basically write the narrative for everyone, whether it's true or not.
Which brings us back to Benzino. Because it's not just what he said about Eminem, right? It's how he said it. He seemed, I don't know, sincere, happy for him even.
Right. It was almost fatherly, which, considering their history, makes it even more confusing. Like, is this a real change of heart or some kind of calculated PR move?
Especially after that Drink Champs interview. I mean, come on, it was intense. He was clearly still holding on to a lot of anger towards Eminem.
Oh, yeah. And then he dropped those diss tracks like a month later. 2 of them.
I know. So, what's the deal? Is he being for real now? Or is this whole nice guy act just part of some bigger strategy we haven't figured out yet?
It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle, but someone keeps swapping out the pieces.
Right. And that's the thing about public image, isn't it? It's all a construct. Like, it's the image these celebrities and their people want us to see.
And it's so easy to get caught up in it, to buy into it, without realizing what we're really buying into.
Exactly. So how do we know what's real? How do we know what to believe?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it starts with asking ourselves some tough questions. Like, why am I so invested in this story? Am I letting my own biases affect how I see these people? And most importantly, am I remembering that these are real people with real lives, even if they are famous?
It's easy to get caught up in it all. The headlines, the gossip, who's beefing with who. It's like a 24/7 soap opera.
And we eat it up. But I think we forget sometimes that there are real people behind these stories.
Totally. We get so caught up in the drama that we forget that these are actual human beings with families and feelings and all that.
It's like we reduce them to characters in our heads, instead of seeing them as complex individuals.
Exactly. Which isn't to say we shouldn't hold them accountable for their actions. If someone messes up, they gotta own it.
Of course. But I think it's about finding that balance, like calling out bad behavior while still remembering that everyone makes mistakes, even famous people.
Right. Like, imagine if every dumb thing you ever did was blasted all over the internet.
Don't even get me started.
I know, right? So maybe, like, a little empathy goes a long way.
For sure. And a healthy dose of skepticism, too. Because let's be real, so much of what we see is manipulated, edited. It's all about spinning a narrative.
True, true. It's on us to be smart about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Look beyond the headlines, do our own research, all that.
Exactly. Don't just take everything at face value. Think for yourself.
Well said. So I guess the takeaway here is the next time you see some crazy headline about your favorite celebrity, take a second before you hit that share button.
100%. Ask yourself, what's the real story here? What am I not seeing? And am I being fair?
Boom. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but hey, the conversation doesn't have to end here.
Yeah, keep thinking about this stuff. Keep asking questions. And remember, everyone deserves a little grace, famous or not.
Truth. Until next time, deep divers.